What is up, everybody? I want to talk to you about my retirement dividend fortress. And it's just been amazing and I want to talk to you about how I'm working GPIQ, QQQI, SGOV, and QDTE all in concert together. I am no longer a dragon fighter. Now the dragons fight for me. And quite an incredible feeling, I must say, being the dividend king. And I feel so secure in my dividend palace. Now, a younger tactical, about 4 years ago, realized that he could possibly either retire or semi-retire in about 4 to 5 years. And the initial plan was to go with JEPI and JEPQ and funnel as much money as I could over the next few years. A younger tactical was going to do that. Maybe I should have done that instead of playing around with high yield dividend funds like Yield Max and Defiance for, I don't know, a year and a half, whatever it was. Maybe I should have done that. But I learned a ton of lessons, and I am no worse for the wear. I just got lucky, boys. Let me just give you a brief rundown on the funds I hold, but I want to talk to you about how I'm utilizing them and how they work in concert together. I own GPIQ. As you can see here, max all time, up 37% share price. Distributions continue to grow over time. Yes, we can have dips. Yes, we can have 20% corrective measures, and it still recovers its distributions. The distributions do not go down over time. They go up over time, which is phenomenal when you're in a retirement type situation. And year to date, it's up 8% in share price, which is perfect for me. I get some growth, right? And I get the distributions, which rise over time. Oh, I was getting excited, which keeps everything so stable. I love it. And QQQI, same thing here. This is a driving force. Actually, I own more of QQQY than I do of anything else. GPIQ is second in percentage allotted in my account. This thing is up 4% over year to date, which is fine. It's perfect for what I want to do. And you could see we just reached our all-time highs in distributions with QQQI, right in line with the Qs making all-time highs. So it follows the market perfectly. Both of them do for covered call funds. It's almost like the people at Goldman Sachs know what they're doing. I don't know. That's what it's like. Now, the whole linchpin and everything is SGOV for me. No, it doesn't make anything pretty much in share price appreciation. And the distribution yield is at 4%, which is obviously not huge. But what this has allowed me to do with my plan, I have now, because of the market ripped in 2024, and then we had the corrective measure, and then it's now ripped again, it has allowed me to take profits from all my dividend funds over the course of the last couple of years that I didn't need for living expenses and have over a year's worth of living expenses in SGOV, and will continue to grow that as a massive, well, for me anyway, a safety cushion. And I just couldn't be happier with my dividend account. Now, this thing is a wild card. It is down 11% in share price. But this thing has been phenomenal for me, but I have an exit strategy for it because this is not sustainable long term. And we can see the distributions are flat. They're not rising like GPIQ and QQQI. However, they're not decreasing like the funds I held in Nvidia and Misty and all the other high yield. They're not decreasing as the market is ripping. They're at least staying flat. It pays a 36% yield, which is not sustainable. I realize that. I understand that. But it's been actually really good for me despite that. Total returns, as you can see in the four positions, my main four positions I hold are GPIQ, QI, QDTE, all positive. Total returns are great. SGOV, total returns are positive there. Now, see, this is why, even though I love QDTE, the dividend growth has been down 14% as the Qs are ripping. That's not sustainable. SGOV is short-term treasuries. Yes, it's down in its dividend growth, but it's actually just perfect for me. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Pay a little bit of a yield, but have no risk essentially associated with it. And if it does start dropping, I will sell it immediately and put it back in the high yield savings account. Price change year to date, beautiful. In my top 3 funds, well, in my top 2 as far as dividend funds go, I don't consider SGOV a dividend fund, but anyway, I digress. GPIQ, positive year to date in price change, and QQQI, which means the higher the share price, the higher the distributions. We've already seen that with their distribution history. Now, this is not good. Price change in QDTE is negative, which, as you can see, the dividends have been flat. They have not been growing. So here's the crux to my plan, and I've gotten so lucky. It's not about skill or anything else. I have just gotten extraordinarily lucky. I got into high yield funds and was 100% in them in 2024 at the beginning of 2024. And all we did was rip for 2024. I sold the majority of them in 2024 towards the latter part of 2024 leading up to the election. I didn't know if there'd be a correction or a crash. And I just got lucky. With the election, sometimes there's volatility, whatever. I got lucky, sold all my high yield, majority of them, not all of them, majority of them in late 2024. Put all that stuff in a high yield savings account. I started buying like XDTE around that point, stuff like that. And then as we started dropping, I put all my high yield savings account. I moved it into SGOV. And then my biggest position of all was something called SVOL. Okay. And I had that. And as the market was dropping, I bought SPY from when I had some money I had in my SGOV that I transferred over from profits from 2024. And I started buying QDTE, XDTE, stuff like that. And then as the market started recovering, I switched everything over to the Q's version because it was an AI rally, a tech rally, whatever, right? So whatever the latest technology is, it always changes, but whatever. So I moved everything from SPY, I just switched it over to QQQI, okay? And then XDTE, I put it all into QDTE. And then we started rising, and everything got above my cost basis as far as that stuff goes. And so I started funneling money. Whatever I didn't need for living expenses here in semi-retirement, I started funneling into SGOV and kept building that position to build me a safety net for us. And then I sold SVOL at some point, like 2 months ago, maybe month and a half ago, whatever. And I put the majority of that into GPIQ and funneled some more into QQQI. Okay. So when we look at GPIQ, you can see the growth with this. No, it's not the Qs. But for a covered call fund, Goldman Sachs apparently, for some reason, knows what they're doing. So what I've done is just take all the distributions that I don't need to live off of. I pull them 100%. I put some in SGOV, keep funneling money into that, waiting on some bigger correction or whatever when I can deploy it. Plus it builds my safety net, okay? And then QQQI, I've been able to just pull all those distributions for quite some time and doing the same thing. Whatever I don't need for living expenses goes into SGOV. So continuing to build that. Now, believe it or not, this has been the driving force behind my account. QDTE has helped immensely. Yes, the share price is wretched, right? You see the growth right here. You see the growth right here. You lack this growth with QDTE. But because my cost basis is around $34, it has been above my cost basis for quite some time. So again, every week I get paid. I keep whatever I don't need for living expenses, again, goes into SGOV, which is right here. And that's all this thing does is float around. I have a stop loss on it. This SGOV, it's not to lose me money whatsoever. I have a stop loss at $99. So if this thing falls to $99, I'm selling it and putting it back into my high yield savings account. But until that time happens, or if it starts paying just too little where my high yield savings account pays more, I'll move it back. I have never, I guess I should have done this, but QDTE wasn't around, and GPIQ, I don't think, was around when I was starting it, and QQQI wasn't around when I was going with my JEPI, JEPQ strategy that I was going to do initially. I'm kind of all over the board here with this video. I get it. But the bottom line is I've never been happier. I'm making money as the market rips. I'm not losing money and having to funnel money back into my account just to keep it flat like I had to do with my high yields. This has just been amazing, and I am just so happy. And I feel like I could weather most storms. Now, of course, if we get a 50% drawdown, this is going to drop by 50%. This is going to drop by 50%. And at least I'll be able to know that it will be able to grow over time. And I can start pulling money, when we start getting these corrective measures from SGOV into these funds. But until we start dropping, 15-ish% or something like that, I'm not putting anything back into them. I'm pulling the distributions 100% and just letting it work over time, because we can see that's all it does is go up over time, and it follows the markets. I just want to tell you how happy I am with this fund and my strategy. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later. Bye.